All the content contained in this webcast is for informational purposes only. The investments and strategies contained in this webcast may not be suitable for you. Please consult your own independent financial advisor before making any investment or trading decisions. Good morning, traders and investors around the world, and welcome to perhaps Turnaround Tuesday's edition of premarketinfo.com, where we prepare you for the most important hour of the day. Well, Dennis, what a sell-off yesterday. I was looking for a rally this week, and there was a rally, but it stopped when the market opened at 9:30.
Wow, short-lived rally. It actually stopped in the overnight session, Joel. We were up as much as 20 points, what we were saying on Sunday night. We came in and we were only up 10. By the time the market opened, we were only up 6. And then obviously everybody came with their selling shoes on and down we went.
Okay, the S&Ps hit 1330 during the intraday session. That's quite a ways from where we're trading now. Do not see any major resistance at up to the Globex high, which was 1309 and a quarter. Above that is 1314 would be another good place to exit some longs. I think Dennis on the downside, boy, we hit 1300 yesterday, made a low at 1299.75. We've traded a little bit below that level in the Globex session. We got to keep a real close eye on that 1297 Globex low. Just like the market, Apple. What happened to Apple yesterday?
Yeah, I guess they just came out and didn't really say anything about any new products and said basically the quarter is going to depend on iPad and iPhone sales, and the market obviously didn't like that. So in the morning the stock was actually trading higher, it's showing some great relative strength, but once they just said about the iPad and iPhone sales being the majority of the quarter, down the stock went. Obviously lost $16 here straight down in the last hour and a half. Crazy move down, Joel.
A couple things to note on Apple Computer. Number one, it did not get to the pre-market high. We had talked about that 589.88 was the high yesterday in the pre-market. So for those of you looking to use the pre-market as a parameter, if you wanted to short up against that 590 level, your stop wouldn't have got hit. But more importantly, we need to look at the downside here. We have three lows basically within a buck and a half in Apple. Yesterday's low, 570.63. Friday's low, 569. And Thursday's low, 570.50. I mean, how many times do you see? You got to call the triple bottom in this world of decimals here at 570. A really critical level for Apple today.
Very critical for this level to hold here. I think the stock still has an overall nice trend going, but if we start to break down and get below 565, then you get nervous. I still thought the stock might have 600 on the mind, but we know what happens when fundamentals come out, technicals go away, and the stock really, sold off basically because they just didn't like the comments that Apple was saying yesterday. So it's hard to say where the stock goes from here. Today's a critical day. Apple needs to bounce back. If the follow-through continues, then you probably need to be a seller of rallies.
Okay, another tech stock, same thing, opened up near the high and sold off the rest of the day. Microsoft made a high above the weekly high, which was 29.70, opened up at 29.81 or 29, and then just nosedived. Really critical here. We're under $29. We haven't been under 29 very much here at all this year. Taking a look at 28.82 was yesterday's low. You'll probably get a shot to buy it at the $29 level. Of course, you don't have major support after that down to 28.32, which has been the low of the move. But here's another chance to buy Microsoft under 29.
Man, what a sell-off yesterday. I didn't even notice that on the Microsoft. Obviously, we talked about that 30 being psychological resistance. Didn't quite get to there, 29.81. But a lot of things open at the highs, and straight down they went. If the sell-off continues, I think you gave a good number there, 28.32, maybe where it's heading if it continues. But maybe we get a bounce here. A lot of people were probably caught short because the thing rallied pretty quickly, so maybe they're going to take this opportunity to cover some shorts. You never know. Some of these days too, after a big sell-off like that, you'll get a day where the market will pause, try to decide whether it wants to bounce or not. But when it doesn't bounce right away, that's when I get nervous.
Okay, moving on to the oils. ExxonMobil showed some good relative strength yesterday. Only made a low at 80.17 as opposed to Friday's low at 79.46. So that $80 level is really shaping up to be important. CVX gave it back a little bit more, got under 100, 99.91 close with the 99.57 low. Does CVX want to be a triple digit stock or not?
Every time it gets into the triple digits, it gets pounded back down. Just pounded it just slightly under the 100, Joel, at 99.91. But look at, yeah, the day before the low is $100.18, or I'm trying to grab the day below, 99.69 and 99.57. So the two lows, you could almost argue that double bottom. Keep a real good eye on this whole 99.60 area. It starts to take that out. You had that big move up there back on June the 6th, where the stock went from 97 up to this 99 area. And you know what they say, when the stock moves up that quickly through an area, it can move down that quickly through an area. So if this thing started trading below 99.5, it could move down very quickly in a couple of handles even.
Okay, also taking a look at AT&T, it looks like the HFT guys had a little bit of fun in AT&T yesterday. It did get up to $35 before pulling back.
Yeah, the HFT guys, we thought there'd be HFT resistance in the high 34s to the 35. They didn't fail. $35 being the top yesterday, Joel. Still a couple 100,000. Big institutional selling pressure up there at 35. Those high frequency guys, they feast on that stuff, Joel. They see that big size in the buck. They feast on it. They throw their sell orders out in front of it, 34.90, 34.95, 34.98. So all in the 34.90s, just littered with high frequency trading offers. So expect that to still be resistant until that 35 prints. When the thing prints 35.01, all those guys shake out. But if it doesn't print that 35.01, it's still probably going to see a lot of selling pressure in the 34.90s.
Yeah, it's showing down 11 cents this morning. I'm not sure if there's just a odd lot trading there. 34.56 was Friday's close and Monday's low also, so that's a key area. See if we can get back up to that level. Moving on to GE, Dennis, got up to 1943. That 1950 level is getting to be huge in GE. We've knocked up against it like 4 times and pulled back, and now we're coming back down towards 19. If this thing can finally clear this 1950, we could have a little bit of a rally in GE.
Wow, Joel. Just looking at that too, you had those 3-4 tops right there, 1943, 1942, yesterday 1943. Call that area major resistance now. If we get back up to there, I would think you're definitely going to find some sellers. If we get below 19, we got a little double bottom there from a couple of days at 1890 and 1890 there, almost identical double bottoms from the 7th and from the 8th. So that 1890 area, call that pretty decent support. So I've gone the range here. Gets down, I'm probably a buyer down here in this 1890 area. Gets up in the 1940 area, I'm probably a seller.
Okay, similar trend here with some of the other components we just discussed. Wells Fargo opened up at the high of the day, sniffed a $32 level, getting a high 31.94, selling back down under $31. Monday's low 30.96, the close 30.99. You got to imagine some bids are start to accumulate here at 31.
Still an ugly downtrend here too. That's the overall problem with the stock. This whole trend here is not your friend. We could try to draw the trend if you want there, but the trend is definitely not your friend there. And this 32 area has been resistance. It held there yesterday. Stock pulled back hard. This day is critical. I just can't say on all these charts I'm looking at here. The overall market, it's critical for this S&P to hold this
Yep,
1300 area.
I
And
agree.
yeah, and this is so it's really hard to come in here and say, no, I'm going to be a buyer, I'm going to be a seller. Wait for the market to make its move. We started to take out that 1300, started trading 1295, 1294, taking out yesterday's lows in these things. You can tell then that it's probably going to be a pretty ugly day. If this holds and we start to get a bounce, but if we just kind of sit here all day, that makes me nervous. I want to see a bounce. I want to see buyers come in with some conviction and say, look, we missed a buying opportunity. This is the next buying opportunity. I want to come in. If I don't see that today, I'm going to get real nervous in this market, Joel.
Okay, Dennis, have you changed your shopping habits lately? Have you gotten off the Coach and the Tiffany and started going to Michael Kors?
Michael Kors, the
Is
luxury,
that beer? Do
luxury.
they
It's
sell
it's
beer?
not beer. If it was Coors, then I
Oh
would be
man.
helping them. But it's and when Coors Light, that would have been a better ticker symbol for Coors than the whole Rocky thing. Coors KORS, but this isn't Coors Light. This is Michael Kors. They sell luxury watches. What else they sell? Shoes, furniture. They sell all luxury stuff, high end
Handbags.
stuff. They sell stuff that people don't buy during a recession, but I guess we're not in a recession, Joel, because the stock's taken off here. 43.60. It's moving up. You got a couple levels here before. It's actually trading above this resistance area, which I would have said around 42 and a half. So if we come back to 42 and a half, maybe you find some buyers there now where old support can become resistance.
I think I'm going to have to go the other way on this one, Dennis. 4406 is what it hit in the pre-market. That's been the pre-market high, trading a little bit below that level. But when you see this kind of chart, the stock after the IPO got up over $50. Now you've had a slide under 36. Everyone that was buying this thing on the way down, now you're getting a $5 pop in the
It's a good
pre-market.
pop. You're right. It is a
Yeah,
good pop.
I mean, it's three-quarters of a million shares, so there's definitely some people squirming. But I would keep an eye on this 4406 level. If it gets through there, there's really not much in the 44 handle or the 45 handle. But I don't know. Something just tells me that this is a gift for some people that were nibbling at 36, 37, all the way down there. And lo and behold, up $5. Hey, I'm out.
The only thing is, looking back into April, there is some stuff. You had multiple highs there, right in the 44.74, 44.60, 44.65, and then if you go back to March, you had bottoms in that area too. So maybe this whole high upper 44s, if the stock really takes another point up, you might find some resistance in there. I've drawn the trend line here at 42 and a half, just that flat where resistance was before. So if we do indeed open above 42 and a half, which it looks like we're going to, maybe it gets up into those high 44s and then obviously could peel back from that area.
I'll bet you a Coors Light that it doesn't see 44.50.
A Coors Light, it doesn't see 44.50. I don't know. I'm wishy-washy. I think long run, I think this thing goes back down, but sometimes these things get followed through. I don't want to lose a Coors Light though, there, Joel. So I'm not taking you on that bet. Maybe if you're betting a better type of beer, like a Labatt's Blue or something.
Oh yeah.
I like my
Okay.
Labatt's. La beer is Labatt's. There, it's that Canadian blood that in me.
Okay. So we've heard a lot of different things from companies, right? They've raised estimates, they've lowered estimates, they've done all kinds of things with their earnings. But have you ever heard of anybody narrowing their estimates?
I've seen it before, but not very
You have.
often.
Okay.
Texas Instruments, yeah. So what Joel's talking about here, Texas Instruments narrows their guidance. So they don't raise it, they don't lower it, they narrow it. So it was 30 to 38 expected to make the next quarter. They narrowed it to 32 to 36. Interesting. So they narrowed. They didn't raise it, they didn't lower it, they narrowed it. So they're projecting that they know a little bit better what it's going to be. Well, the stock's trading up 7 cents. So, and that's kind of with fair value. So I guess it's just maybe a non-event. On the initial news release, I think it did pop though, if I'm not mistaken there, Joel. Maybe you can find what the after hours high was. I think it popped up over 28 bucks. But
Yeah, it actually had a pop and a drop. It hit 28.11
okay.
and then cratered down to the low 27s here, 27.17, and now we're just kind of meandering here around 27.70.
So I guess the investors don't know how to interpret this either when you do this narrow. It's
I think you
interesting.
got to keep eye on this 27.62. That was yesterday's low. We're trading just a dime above that. That coincides nicely with the low that you had 4 days ago at 27.57. Under that, it looks like you got to slide down here until the $27 levels. Keep a real close eye on 27.50.
Yeah, the $27. And the trend still, a lot of these, the trend isn't your
Ugly.
friend. I'll try to draw it for you here again, but look at that trend line there. That is not a pretty trend whatsoever. Obviously, trade up towards the upper end of the trend yesterday. So, and when you're a trend trader, just to explain, basically you draw the line, you take your purple crayon or whatever you color crayon you got there, and that's what Jeff Mackey used to say on CNBC. I always got a kick out. He used to say, yesterday with trends. Take your purple crayon, draw a line. When it gets to the upper end of the trend, sell it. So, and that's what worked here with this Texas Instruments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably 8 times in the past. You've been doing very, very well. So sometimes, technical analysis is a funny thing. A lot of people try to make it very complicated. I've always been one to try to make it simple. Support, resistance, and trends. And you can treat and I always say I can teach somebody technical analysis in 5 minutes. When you start getting into Fibonacci retracements and moving averages and all the fun stuff, and taking mathematical formulas and dividing the price by this, it gets way too complicated. Keep it simple. Draw a trend line, draw the support line, draw the resistance line. Keep it simple. Trading is actually simple. That's the hardest thing for people to realize, especially rookies that are just starting to trade. And they'll read these trading books, and everybody's got a different system of trading. But if you just keep it simple, sometimes the simple trading tactics work the best.
Like the KISS method. Keep it simple,
That's
stupid.
exactly it. The KISS. I think that's on one of my slides from one of some of my presentations. KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's the best thing you can do there. So draw the trend line, like Jeff Mackey used to say. Take the purple crayon, draw the line, and sell it when it gets to the top of the line. And if you would have been doing that yesterday, you'd have been pretty happy.
Okay, just to talk about a stock that had some really wild action yesterday. I hope I can pronounce the name right. Centene Corporation had some bad news. Tested some support that we were talking about. If you would have bought it at that initial support that we had mentioned in the morning, you would have gotten your head chopped off as it went under that $25 level down to 24, 26. But with a little patience, when it came back up through that level, Dennis, you had a pretty good play.
Here's the deal. All the high frequency traders know people do use trend lines, they do use support, they do use resistance. So let me just bring up this weekly chart. I'm going to draw the line for you here on this one too. $25. So this is where support was. They nip it through. So what the high frequency traders will do is they know there's going to be a lot of traders probably buying the stock around this 25 support because it was pretty defined. There was multiple lows in early 2011 at 25. There was a low back in October and another low back in late July, all near the 25 area. Stock was falling $10. It was probably predictable it's going to bounce off the 25 area. But what happens is the high frequency guys know that they'll take the stock through 25, try to get a trade in 24.75, 24.60, so that all the retail guys just bought 25 will puke it out. They buy from those traders and then take the stock higher. So you've got to kind of work. It's not as simple as it used to be. Back in the day, there isn't people shaking you out like that. So what happens early in the morning? It does trade through the 25 area. The high frequency guys get all their stock and they take it straight up from there. It goes straight up over the course of the next 20 minutes after it breached that 25. Goes almost up 26.61, consolidates for a bit, and then continues higher. Got as high as 28.23. So you've got to give it a little wiggle room. And sometimes what the best trade is to just let it go through support just a little bit, just like McDonald's from a few days ago. Traded through that key 86 level by 8 cents, shakes out who's ever, hit some stops probably below 86. They buy from those stops and then they take the stock higher.
Okay, just to keep an eye, 28.49 was yesterday's high in that stock, still almost a buck away. Once it gets above there, you got to be careful. You could get some short covering. You got to gap up to 35.27 to fill. Moving on to our next market mover, FIO.
So just a little one here, there, Joel, FIO, but it is up in the pre-market pretty decently, so we wanted to highlight it. 1874 this thing is trading at right now after closing at 1761. They're getting Cisco, or rumors is they're going to have Cisco as a customer, so that's probably going to help the sales of the stock. Obviously, there. I'll try to get you daily here. The stock has obviously had a very, very ugly time here over the last 3 or 4 months, just moving straight down from topping out above 31.30 back in March, traded 17.61 and closed almost near the lows yesterday. So it is getting a lift off, a little bit of good news. Is this a rally to sell here, Joel?
Get your pencils out here, traders. 1889 was the high in the pre-market. Let's keep an eye on that level. Ugly looking chart here. You had all these highs in the mid 19s, 1945, 1946, and then it moved down to 1930. That was yesterday's high. I would keep an eye. I think someone's not, even on this news, someone's not letting us get to $19. I mean, also you had this stock just making a multi-week low here at this level. So Keep an eye on that 19, Dennis. I just don't know if it's that news is good enough to push it much higher.
And here's another one, the same type of deal. And when they go through 19, the high frequency traders will often make it take it through the whole number because people will put their stops in the 19 or 1905. So if they're short the thing, people stop out 1905, 1910. And what'll happen is obviously that once they take it through the 19, they'll trigger those stops and then try to sell from them. So don't be surprised if this does trade through the 19 slightly and then fall down. So keep an eye. If this thing starts trading 19 and a half, then all bets are off. But I wouldn't be surprised if this topped out, in the same area that topped out before 1915, 1920.
Okay, just to close the show, Dennis, let's go back to Facebook.
Facebook
I'm
again.
trying to
You
get
can't get away
bullish.
from that Facebook.
Yeah, well, it gave a really nice head fake, Dennis. We've been talking about that 27.76 level,
Yeah.
Which been high previous few days, and then you
Yeah.
had one at 27.65. But lo and behold, they blow it through there. They blow it through the whole number,
Yeah.
28, and then they shake those longs right out from the top of the tree. They come falling out, sells off with the rest of the markets, closes on the low. You got three higher highs in this stock. So let's see if that trend can continue again. Keep an eye on the 26.83 level. But for Facebook, for me to write my next bullish blog, it has to close over 28.
You gotta get off the bullish
I'm still getting,
bandwagon.
I'm still
When you
getting
get off
eight
the
letters.
bullish bandwagon on this thing, then I'm gonna buy it. You're sometimes pretty good, but on this one, Joel, you haven't done a great job on the Facebook.
I've fallen flat on my face. I don't know
Falling
how many
flat on
people-
your face.
Come on.
But I just want to highlight, you said something, they did it again here. They take it through the 28 there, shake out, hit some stops at 28, probably sell to them, and then take it down. So they know, the high frequency guys know, when you take it through those whole numbers, people are lazy. They put stops right at whole numbers because it's easy to do. Oh, I'll stop out if it goes to 28. They put it 28. So this high frequency guys take out, make it trade 28.05 or a few cents above it, hit those stops, sell to those stops, and then take it down. So you got to just be aware of these whole numbers are just very, very important in so many cases, and even from a stops perspective. So don't be surprised a lot of times when they take it through a whole number if it actually ends up turning around and going down the other way.
Okay, that's our show for today, folks. We like your comments and questions we get at info@premarketinfo.com, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.